Hello Titans. Okay, we're going back to Illustrator. We're actually going to go back to IS2 just for a moment before we start IS3. Basically what IS3 is about is we're going to use whatever our favorite shapes are, and we're from our drawings over here, and we're going to go ahead and bring them into IS3. So I'm just going to go and pick two of them. I'm going to pick this one. So I'm picking my favorites, by the way. I think that one, and I'm trying to think of one that it'll go nicely with. I think it'll go nicely with this one. I think these two are going to work together. You can choose either one or two shapes, but at least one of them has to be from your abstract page. So basically you can choose two from your abstract page, you could choose one from each, or you could choose just one from your abstract page and that's it. So these are the two I'm going to work with. I dragged a box over them with my selection tool and I'm going to Command C, which is copy them. Now I'm going to go to File New, and I'm going to put in the name again, which is going to be my last name first, then my first name, which is Mr., my grade, and IS3, which is the last Illustrator project for you guys, so you'll be happy to know that. We're going to go back to one artboard and switch these numbers back to what they were before, which is just switching them. Again, make sure this is inches before you bother putting in those numbers. We don't have any of these selected because there's only one artboard. Press OK. Okay. So now I'm going to Command V for victory to paste those in. And you're saying, well, why isn't it Command P? And the answer is because Command P is print. All right, so now that we have two of these in here, I'm going to show you a couple tricks. Now, basically, if we use our selection tool and hold down the Alt button, we can move something and it'll create a copy of it. And you'll see that the icon changes. So when I'm about to do it, it turns into that double. So that's how you know that it's working, that double black and white arrow there. All right, so if you only picked one of these, you're just going to make a dozen of them to start. If you pick two, you have to make at least 6 of each to start. So I'm going to duplicate each of these. Go over here and duplicate these. And I'm just, again, holding the Alt button while I pull these down. Okay, and this should be kind of the fun part. We're gonna start this project by creating variation. There's several things that we need to show in our final piece. Basically, movement is something important, variation is something important, and emphasis is something important. And you might not know what those words are, so I'm going to show you. For variation, we're going to vary these by color. So some of them, will be one color. We're going to show variation using the fill, the stroke, and the size of the stroke, and also whether it's uniform. So now we're adding one more into these things. I'm going to do some to show you some examples and let you see how they come out. Okay, so now I varied all of these by color, but otherwise they're the same. Come back in a couple minutes to see how else I can create variations. So now I created more variation by adding different colored strokes or outlines. They're called strokes in Illustrator, but you might know them as outlines, and giving them a different thickness over here. I'm just going to show you what this uniform thing does. So if I choose something, right now uniform it's talking about the quality or the thickness of the line. So I can change them by going to this and making different ones. So you can see that the line, especially on the really thick ones, you'll see the difference. Let me choose one I haven't done yet. There you go. Okay, so that's another way to create variety. It's a little bit more subtle than the colors, but it's another way. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do a couple more and come back to you and show you another way of how we can create variety. Okay, I just created variety here by changing, by using my selection tool and changing things like the rotation, the size, and in some cases like warping them so that they're a little bit more narrow or fat. So that's another way to create variation, is by changing their size or changing their shape by warping. One other thing that you can do, by the way, with the selection tool is flip something right over itself. So that can change like the direction, which is a pretty cool thing to change. I'm going to do that in a couple areas. So I'm flipping it right over itself, and that changes it very dramatically from the other one. This one is just going to use a rotation. Okay, so now I've created variation again. Now I'm going to position all of my pieces, and I'm going to add one more group to them by basically using my Alt tool again and making duplicates of each one. And once I make those duplicates, I'm going to add some type of variation to each one so no two are alike. By the way, there's no reason that I have these separated. I just did that for convenience early on. I'm not purposely keeping them separate, so it doesn't matter that one goes into the side of the page. In fact, pretty soon this whole composition is going to be very, very different. So come back in a few minutes and you'll see what I've done to add variation one last time. Okay, so you can see my new variation. Everybody is different in some way, even if it's something minor, but no two of these are exactly alike. They either have different fills, they have different strokes, they have different thicknesses of their stroke, they have different uniformities to their stroke. So there's lots of things going on that make them different. Some of them are bent and tilted and stuff like that. So now what I'm going to do is the last part of the project, which is the hardest to explain.